Hi, this is Johan. Once again, I'm back with another video for you. And this is the next UFO case. From Norway this time. Case number 5. And it's titled The Fantastic UFO Experience of Reidar Salvesen at Helleland. This encounter happened October 29, 1970. It was 4:40 p.m. Thursday, October 29, 1970. 35-year advisor Reidar Salvesen had been on a business trip to Stavanger. He was now on his way home to Kristiansand. On his mind were everything that had happened during the day, when he would be home and what he should do the day after. At the moment he passed Helleland, it began to grow dusk, and therefore he switched on the parking lights. It was raining gently. The journey went from Stavanger via Ueland and Helleland towards Kristiansand. Suddenly, when I was about 3 kilometers ahead of Helleland, I was dazzled by a light of tremendous force. It was in the middle of the dusk, but in spite of that, I had to stop the car completely due to the powerful light. The light seemed to be much more powerful than an electric welding flame. There was no traffic on the road at this time. Just after having stopped the car, I opened the door partly to take a look outside. Then I got a glimpse of a brightly shining fireball that was hovering slowly towards the car, and then came to a halt very nearby. The diameter seemed to be about 20 meters, but due to the tremendous light it was difficult to estimate the dimensions with certainty. I got out of the car, then the dazzling light was gone. But on the other hand, I could see an object that looked exactly like the descriptions I have seen of flying saucers. It was shaped like a discus, completely without any noise and hovering almost horizontally over my car. I estimated the altitude to be about 10 meters above the road. What did you think of at that moment? Above all, I felt completely bewildered. Then I thought that this is something very important, which I will hardly get any chance to see anymore. Because of this, I fetched pencil and paper from my pocket and began to write down observations. By comparing the size of the car to that of the object, I could estimate the diameter of the machine to about 10 meters. In the same way, I estimated its altitude above the road. The width of the object was harder to estimate, but I think it was 3 to 3.5 meters in the thickest spot in the middle, and about 0.5 meters at the periphery. While it was floating there, completely motionless, for about 50 seconds, I had the time to draw it to a correct scale. Hereafter, I was stabbed to the ground as if hit by an electric blow from the saucer. On the bottom side there was a small swelling about 2 meters in diameter, and on the top there was a circular dome of correspondingly diameter. The periphery of the saucer was marked by an 0.5 meter wide wavy belt which was gold shining. The material in the rest of the object was completely smooth as a mirror, with traces of steel luster. "Did you see any signs of life?" the interviewer asks. "No, neither life nor sound. I didn't feel anything like vibration nor motion." "Did you see any sign of doors or openings?" "No, I saw no corners nor anything that could indicate the existence of it. I noticed that I was looking especially for the following: identification signs, letters, numbers, marks or flags, intake or outflow pipes, exhaust pipes, doors or windows, odors from gases. The object didn't have anything of these things. It stood just beside the open. I stood just beside the open door of the car and made my observations. The car engine was switched off. Without noticing any form of physical pain or pressure, I was suddenly knocked halfway down. I supported myself with my right arm and avoided to fall completely. At the moment the object was still motionless and I didn't notice any wind blows. But at the same moment I fell down, I heard a typical sound of a front window being pressed in. As usual with breaking proof glass, the window was pulverized and most of it ended in the car. The door remained open. Almost simultaneously, as I crawled to my feet, the objects ascended as swift as lightning. During the next 2 or 3 seconds I glimpsed the object as the size of a pea. I guessed that the altitude then was about 1,000 meters. There it was once more surrounded by a powerful light and disappeared in the next moment. "What did you do after this?" the interviewer asks. After having collected my wits, I got rid of the rubber frame in which the front window was embedded, and the remaining glass pieces. I looked at my watch and realized that I really had to hurry up if I wanted to get to Helleland before they closed. I arrived at Helleland at 5 o'clock and got a piece of plastic as a substitute for the front window. In this way I managed to get to Kristiansand during the evening. And a small chapter about the credibility of the witness. These are from the interviewers themselves. "It is our impression that in this case we have to do with a qualified witness. The extensive, very minute account indicates this. The calmness of the observer systematically noticing important points does also indicate this." Editor Halvor Toreskås in Kristiansands Tidende, who wrote the first report in the press and who was one of the first who heard about the event, says in a letter to UFO Sverige, "I also have done comprehensive investigations to check the credibility of Mr. Reidar Salvesen. And the result was positive all over. When I got to know about the case through a mutual acquaintance, Reidar Salvesen first refused to give any information to the press. He had an appointment to give a report to the police the following day. With the permission of the police officer, I was allowed to publish the case. In order to control the account of Salvesen, editor Toreskås made contact with the shop where Salvesen had bought the plastic cover. According to Salvesen himself, he had asked for a piece of plastic and something to dry some blood from his hand, because of a wound was the result when he had fallen to the ground and supported himself with his hand. The shopkeeper hadn't got any information, however, of the fact that Salvesen had seen a UFO. Everything according to Salvesen. The shopkeeper could confirm this part of Salvesen's account completely. Did he seem to be excited or shaken? He seemed to shudder a bit, but I thought that he was cold after driving a long time without a front window. By the way, it couldn't have been for very long, because there is a gravelled road only 5 kilometers from here. The fact is that the accident happened about 12 kilometers from Helleland. It isn't correct because it was a stone slide? No, it wasn't a stone slide. He encountered a UFO, a flying saucer. Shopkeeper Risa was silent for very long, but pure astonishment. Then some notes about the police investigation. The incident took place on a macadamized road, and this rules out the possibility of stone slide as far as the front window is concerned. The police officer at Helleland was inspecting the place of observation November the 2nd, on that place where Salvesen's car had been parked. He found fragments of the front window. In the letter we got from Salvesen on November 31, he writes, "I have not been in contact with the police lately. The case has been taken over by the police superintendent's squad in Oslo. The police admits that the event is interesting, but they don't show officially that they have any views on what the object might be." And then some reports and quotes from Kristiansand's Tidende, local newspaper from Kristiansand, November the 2nd. "When everything was over, I had a strange sensation in the tongue and in the part of the face. It seemed like an aftermath of being under anesthetics at the dentist. I looked at myself in the back mirror, but couldn't notice anything, and the sensation soon disappeared. Besides, I have got some wounds on my right hand because I used it to stop myself from falling to the ground." In a letter from editor Toreskås, we learned that Salvesen had had some difficulties in getting an appointment with an occultist in Kristiansand. We asked Salvesen what was his reason for trying to consult an occultist. "I was so dazzled for 2 or 3 days that I could hardly see, because of the very powerful light that I watched for 2 to 3 seconds. It was very difficult to see in daylight, and the white substance in my eyes remained red for a couple of days. The difficulties in seeing in daylight and in powerful lamplight lasted for 7 to 8 days. After all, I will not consult a doctor because I haven't had any severe physical or mental symptoms after the event." Dull car varnish. Salvesen, who had a brand new car, noticed by an inspection of it after the event a round frosted spot on the top of the car. He had, however, not given it further thought. Civil engineer Gunvald Veie, leader of Nordic UFO studiegruppe, took a sample from this spot and also from neutral paint from the car. These samples were submitted to scientific tests in Oslo. According to Reidar Salvesen, the following conclusions were drawn. The sample from the paint and the pieces of glass show lower radioactivity than normal. A test with a Geiger counter also shows a completely negative result. The army has shown some interest in the case when measuring the radioactivity of the car. I haven't been in contact with the Air Force, but I have confirmed that there were no airplanes in the area on the actual point of time. Additional. Advisor Salvesen has written a concept on 5 pages, where he gives certain completing information to that which is reported earlier. This additional report has been written due to all the questions he has got from mass media and UFO organizations regarding the event. We are quoting from the report. "I will strongly point out that I have not the slightest doubt that this was a constructed or fabricated object. It is completely out of the question that it should have been some sort of celestial body, meteorite, etc. The object was watched completely, distinctly and clearly. I also want to point out that the object was very beautiful. It was great fun to study its lines. The glassy surface made a wonderful contrast to the frostly gold-colored edge around the object. It seemed to be extraordinarily smooth. There was no roughness, and according to my opinion, it was, from a constructor's point of view, perfect, and it seemed to be right with respect to form and construction. It is my opinion that it is almost impossible that this thing should not be manned. This is supported by the fact that the light ball followed the slope downwards and stopped with a precision over the car, then moving forwards about 5 to 6 meters in front of it. This had the effect that it was in a very good position to study it. Afterwards, I thought that the position of possible creatures was also very good from their point of view. I have been told that the object attacked me. I have myself no impression of that. I stood quietly drawing and evaluating it and didn't know any form of fear or anxiety. But in the beginning I was quite astonished by what I saw. In many respects I should wish that I could experience it once more, and also a landing close by, but the chances are very minute, I suppose. I'm wondering what the content of the thing really was. Yet another fantastic story. And here we have Mr. Salvesen's sketch of the UFO. It looks like a classic flying saucer, doesn't it? Yeah. So, hope you liked the story, and next time we'll go for case number 6, and the title is Strange Aircraft Spotted in Åsbygda. It's a case from 1977. And you know, the year 1977 was a really big UFO year. A lot of crazy things went on that year. And I'll start to talk about that a little bit before the case goes on and continues in the next video. Until then, goodbye.